Doom 2's Map 7 is the perfect definition of how a simple map can leave impacts that's considered not so simple, famous for being the level that would introduce the player to the Mancubus and Arachnotron. The map is designed to focus more on the game's combat mechanics rather than encouraging the player to explore and solve puzzles. If you've played enough community Doom mods, you will bump into the many Dead Simple style clones due to how influential Dead Simple is. There's just something about this level that continues to make fans want to make their own Dead Simple styled maps. While Dead Simple isn't really a slaughter map, you could argue its approach to emphasizing arena-styled combat makes it very influential to the slaughter scene of classic Doom. On top of that, if you do play Doom Deathmatch, you should be familiar of how great this map can play compared to the other Doom 2 levels. Dead Simple was a collaborative map that's made by both Sandy Peterson and American McGee. Sandy did build an early version of the map that seemed more like a rough draft, but American McGee would be the one that's responsible for the Dead Simple that every Doom fan recognizes. In the world of custom Doom 2016 levels, the influence of Dead Simple is still relevant. Hell, even Doom 2016's main campaign has a tribute to Dead Simple, which I still remember thinking it was a cool remake. For this episode of Exploring Doom SnapMap, I want to talk about the Dead Simple remakes that people should play if they want to get their Doom 2016 combat fix on playing a beloved classic Doom map. With that mentioned, there isn't as many Dead Simple remakes compared to Hangar on Doom SnapMap, so there will be some special rules I'll implement for this episode. I'm going to pick maps that I believe are the best remake-style maps and the best Dead Simple inspired maps for this episode. These picks are the ones I highly recommend players to try out if they want a fun Doom SnapMap to play and being able to see the creative talents that mappers can do within Doom SnapMap's environment. Before I show you all the maps, I do want to remind players that the Arachnotron was not brought back in Doom 2016, so there will be no Arachnotrons being in sight as you watch these videos. For the first map to showcase is a Dead Simple remake made by a very well-known author within the community, Pigdog. This version has some amazing visuals, and it certainly gives this familiar map a breath of fresh air when it comes to the overall immersion. The gameplay is pretty much just you versus a lot of Mancubi, and the later ones outside in the arena have doubled the amount of health. Gameplay can feel pretty grindy if you're like me, who isn't the biggest fan of increased monster health, but eventually you will get a BFG later on, and it's just there for dopamine purposes. Overall, a solid version to play, and it also features 2-player co-op too if you want to bring a friend with you. This one is fairly faithful to the original version. It doesn't have any new content or interesting redesigns of the map's visuals. It's just Dead Simple, but with a Doom 2016 twist to it. The map was made by the Doomer, who's also a well-known mapper if you're a long-time SnapMap user like I am. This Dead Simple remake is more focused on the fun factor. It does have a pretty deadly start if you aren't ready. Once you kill the Mancubi, it's just hordes of revenants, and the map becomes fairly simple in terms of difficulty. This map is a part of a Doom 2 Episode 1 campaign remake for SnapMap, and I highly recommend for fans of old and new games to try out that campaign. This remake is similar to the last version I talked about. It's more of a Dead Simple remake that's designed within Doom 2016's environments and art style. It does got a nice hellish temple type of vibe going on, and it's a lot meatier than the original version too. There's definitely a lot more enemies that you'll be fighting in this version, and you'll be fighting a good amount of different types of them too. This map is made by a fairly niche author whose name is PFC Deck, and he does like to have increased health of his monsters, which I'm not a big fan of it, but it's hard to deny the quality and creativity within this snap map. I recommend this one to be played if you liked what you heard and saw. Here's the final map of the remake style Dead Simple levels, and this one does got a little new stuff added into it, but it's fairly faithful to the original version. The new content does keep it interesting, and there's an objective at the end where you need to destroy certain objects. I remember playing this map on launch day, and the map did not explain what I needed to do at that time, and that was frustrating. But it seemed like the mapper kind of realized the flaws and eventually updated the map. Now you won't have to go through the confusion like I did, and really appreciate how this map is supposed to be played. As time progresses, this one is actually my favorite out of the remake style Dead Simple maps, but the other ones are potentially better depending on your taste. This map is also a permadeath map, so be aware. Now we get into the Dead Simple inspired maps. So these maps are not Dead Simple, but you can definitely feel the influence. This map is a remake of a Doom 64 level called Even Simpler. As you can tell from its name, this map is a Dead Simple version for Doom 64. The SnapMap remake has some awesome custom geo to it, and it plays good too. If you've played the original map, this one should be fairly familiar visually. Overall, a great remake, and you could definitely tell the author put a lot of love and care into this map, and it definitely deserves to be played if you haven't so. I do want to warn players that there is some choppy lag here and there, but nothing too ridiculous where it becomes unplayable. This map is heavily action-packed, and it does have a section that pays tribute to Dead Simple at the end. Most of the level is very much different than what you would expect from a Dead Simple styled map, but as you get closer towards the end, you can absolutely tell the Map 7 influence is very strong in this one. The Dead Simple section is awesome visually and gameplay wise. If you ask me, I think this Dead Simple section is better than the campaign's Dead Simple section just because it feels way more fulfilling in the action department. Gothica is just a great map overall, and even though it is an older map nowadays, it still holds up very well after all these years. As I'm getting closer towards the end of this episode, here are some bonus levels that didn't quite make the list. This one is basically a remake of the Doom 2016's campaign section of Dead Simple. It's a novelty map without a doubt, but it still looks cool and interesting to see the mapper trying to pull it off while using SnapMap's assets. But it's not quite interesting enough compared to the ones I mentioned in the list. For the final bonus map, this one is actually made by me. It's a survival version of Dead Simple, so it's basically Dead Simple, but never-ending enemies and supplies for you to duke it out. I did not include this one in the list because it's a survival map, and I don't think it's fair to mention survival maps versus a bunch of campaign-styled maps. However, if you do like the concept of this map, you can give it a shot, and it does got 4-player co-op support too. The bonus maps codes will be in the description instead of being shown like the previous ones. Thank you for watching this episode of Exploring Doom SnapMap, and maybe there might be another one in the future.